Hello and welcome to Eiler Window. My name is Brent. The goal of this channel generally is to make your life on the road easier and more pleasant. However, we are currently in the midst of a very serious travel disruption, not just in the United States, but throughout the world. And so I wanted to take an opportunity today to give you a few tips and tricks and etiquette advice on utilizing web meeting software to help you still do your job, connect with customers, clients, coworkers, and anybody else that you need to connect with in a way that is effective and professional. So, as we all know, web meeting software has been around forever, for probably over a decade. There's Skype, there's Zoom, there's GoToMeetings, there's FaceTime, Facebook messaging. You can even use your phone and with not just FaceTime, but Snapchat and Marco Polo and so many other apps and features that we have today that can really help us communicate over long distances. But when you're used to traveling and connecting with people in person, your use of these technologies can really kind of help fill the gap during a period of disruption, or if you're sick or just because of other scheduling reasons, even after all these travel bans are lifted, you should still utilize these softwares and utilize this functionality in a way that can dramatically improve your effectiveness and the quality of your work. So let's talk about just a few tips to make this work better for you. First and foremost, you need to use the absolute best equipment at your disposal. So I do not recommend that you use your phone to do a business video chat, particularly with an important client or customer. It's great if you got to talk to your kids, your mom, your grandma, your buddies. All of that is great. However, when you're conducting a business meeting remotely, you want to use the best equipment you can. It's also probably not a great idea to try to hold a web meeting when you're outside, even though it's absolutely beautiful out here. Too much background noise, and it just obviously it looks like I'm not really taking it seriously. I'm just hanging out outside. Although you can also get some great video of your dog playing with a tennis ball. So I recommend that you either use a desktop or your laptop with the best quality camera that you possibly can. Currently, I'm using the camera that is just embedded into my laptop here. I don't particularly love it. It's okay, but I'm actually most likely going to get a little bit better webcam in the near future just to give a little bit crisper image and better sound possibilities. And having good equipment doesn't just mean, your camera and the audio. It also means you need to make sure that you have a decent internet connection so that the video, the audio, and anything else that you're streaming or doing through the web meeting software is going to work well and effectively. Now, after you've got decent equipment, you need to make sure that your environment is as professional and free from distractions as possible. I actually feel pretty fortunate because I'm able to set up my workspace because I pretty much always work from home. Unless I'm on the road, I work from home, and I've got a spare bedroom that I've converted into an office. And this is where I spend the vast majority of my day when I'm not on the road. So I've taken the liberty of adding some art, adding a few things on the shelves behind me, trying to make it look as much like an office as I possibly can. Now, you may not have that available to you. You may not have an extra room. You might be working at your kitchen table. You might be working in the garage or in a corner of your bedroom. I totally get that. However, if at all possible, try to limit the distractions around you whenever you're going to be on camera doing a remote meeting with your customers and clients. Make sure you turn on the camera ahead of time and take a look and see in that image what's behind you. So I've got this sort of general abstract art behind me. I've got this painting of my cat, and I've got some paintings that I've done and a few things like that, all of which could easily also be in a professional office. What you don't want to do is have anything that is inappropriate or excessively personal behind you. If it is not what you would have in a customer-facing space at the office or at your store or at your workspace, then don't have it in front of the camera when you're doing a web meeting. You need to keep it as professional as you possibly can. So that leads into sort of the next area of discussion, and that's what I kind of call the 3 Ds: dress, demeanor, and distractions. If you're working from home, it is really tempting to just roll out of bed or even stay in bed and immediately start working. While this may be comfortable and sound appealing, it is certainly not professional. So take some time to get up, get ready, and dress appropriately for the day. Dress the same way that you would if you were meeting in person. If it's with coworkers, you can probably be a little more casual if that's the way your office and your work environment generally is. If it's a casual environment, absolutely nothing wrong with sort of continuing that when you're working from home. However, with customers and clients and other more quote unquote professional interactions, it is important to dress essentially the same way that you would dress in person. And if you've got a really important meeting or a job interview that is remote, then I would even suggest wearing a suit. You may not necessarily have to go full suit. Sometimes just a jacket and a collared shirt, or even just a shirt. Yeah, it's always a good idea to wear pants. I don't care if you think that you're not going to be getting up. You might have to grab the door, you might have a distraction, you might have to get up to get something off your shelf, and depending on the angle of your webcam, you very well may show something you didn't want to show. The next D is demeanor. Your demeanor should always be professional. In other words, pay attention. Keep your eye on the screen. Look towards the camera that you're interacting with. When somebody else is speaking, make sure that you're listening. It's totally okay to, like pull out your notebook and be seen to be taking notes or even typing notes. That's 100% appropriate because that's what you would do in a live meeting anyway. If your customers see you doing this, they know what you're doing. They know you're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook or who knows what else. So don't be distracted by any of that. And by all means, don't play a video game or something like that. The next thing you need to make sure that you do is pay attention to any distractions, or actually don't pay attention to any distractions. You need to limit those, eliminate them if possible. But if you're working from home and your children aren't at school and your spouse or roommates or other people that live with you are also at home at the time, it can be really difficult to entirely eliminate distractions. So if you do have those potential distractions at home, then I strongly recommend that you let your clients or customers or whoever else you're meeting with know in advance. Say, hey, everybody, because of the travel restrictions and everybody at my work is supposed to be working from home right now, my kids are out of school, my wife is home, my husband's home. And that way, if something happens, if the dog barks in the background, then the people that you're working with are going to be advised in advance, and they won't be offended or surprised when there's a distraction or some extraneous sounds that sort of interjects themselves into the meeting. One other thing that I would kind of keep in mind is when we're talking about distractions, also look at anything that I might refer to as props, right? Anything that you're going to be using or reaching for that might come into view of the camera while you are having your phone meeting. Keep that in mind because it may not be appropriate. So this is my water bottle that I normally carry around with me. There's nothing inappropriate on it. It's just a plastic reusable water bottle, but I've got a bunch of stickers, this one from Orange County, this one from Amsterdam, and a few others on here. It doesn't really look professional. So I actually try not to use this when I'm on a work call. And the other thing is watch your coffee mug, right? If you've got some kind of inappropriate message on your coffee mug, probably not the best idea to use that when you're on camera. All right, the next area of things that I want to talk about is making sure that everything works. So test everything before your meeting. So that includes checking everything we've already talked about, your appearance, any distractions, what's behind you on camera, but also check your sound and your video. If you have a chance to maybe call somebody else ahead of time to say, hey, is this working? Do I have any lag? What does the sound look like? All of that is a good idea to make sure that you do that before your meeting starts. And also, it's very important to have good audio. Make sure that you test your audio before you start doing a lot of web meetings and web calls. So generally, I actually like to use my Blue Yeti mic here as well as a set of headphones. It's not unusual for a meeting to be held and to see people with a headset, maybe with a microphone that comes around that's mounted on the headphones or something like that. That is very much expected and understood, so I don't think it's distracting. I may not do this if I were doing a very high-level meeting or if I were doing a job interview. I probably wouldn't wear this. I'd come up with a different type of audio setup for that particular meeting. One thing that I'm not impressed with the quality of are the Apple earbuds, the iBuds, whatever those little white things that everybody sticks in their ear. I am not impressed with the quality of those, either for sound or constant connectivity. They seem to lose connection quite a bit. And whenever I'm in a meeting with somebody that's using those AirPods, then I can tell, and the quality of their interaction with the meeting is not as good. So find something that works really well, that sounds good for you and sounds good for those people that you're meeting with. All right, so now let's talk about the meeting itself, right? Running the actual meeting. So first of all, as soon as the meeting starts, you want to make sure that you start early. If you're the host of the meeting, make sure that you are there a minimum of 5 minutes before the meeting is supposed to start. If you're just a participant in the meeting, I recommend you get there 2 to 3 minutes before the meeting is scheduled to start. So the first thing you're going to want to do once the meeting does get started is to introduce yourself and to allow time for all of the participants to introduce themselves as well, their names, their positions, and what their role in this meeting is. Then once introductions are taken care of, make sure that you outline briefly the agenda. Remember, you want to be respectful of their time and honestly, your time as well. If there is a hard stop for the meeting, if this meeting has to end at 2 p.m., then make sure that you've scheduled it out in time so that you can finish a few minutes early in case there's any follow-up or any Q&A that needs to take place, and that you're able to sort of wrap everything up solidly a couple of minutes before your hard stop time. The other thing you want to do is make sure that if you are sharing your screen, so if you have to share a PowerPoint or any sort of a web demonstration or any software that you're running through, any videos, etc., make sure that works ahead of time and ensure that you know how to properly share your screen. I've been in far too many meetings where I've seen people going back and forth. Oh, I can't figure out how to share my screen. I can't figure out how this works. Make sure that you know how to do that way in advance. Turn off your email, Slack, Voxer, instant messaging notifications so that those aren't popping up during your meeting, particularly if you're sharing your screen. One of the things that I really like doing with remote meetings is to record them. It's very possible that people might be talking over each other. You might miss something that was displayed on a screen, or you might want to just be able to go back and refer to it in the future. If you're doing that, I think it's very polite, professional, and important to first advise everybody that's on the call that you're going to be recording it and ask their permission if that's okay. And also let them know who is going to have access to that recording. Are you going to share it out to everybody that was a participant? Or are you just using it for your own follow-up to take notes or minutes of the meeting? But make sure that they're aware of that. You don't want anybody sort of being surprised that you recorded the conversation, particularly if their image or their video is going to be captured as part of that recording. And just like in a live meeting, make sure that you wrap it up with next steps and follow-up. Who's going to do what the next steps after this meeting are, what you accomplished, and what is going to happen down the road after this meeting. And I also think it's important to do another follow-up email shortly after the conclusion of the meeting saying, hey, thank you very much for your time today. This is what I got out of the meeting, and this is what I expect is going to happen from here on out. Essentially, I think it's important to treat these almost the exact same way that you would treat an in-person meeting. Don't be more casual. At the same time, don't be more formal. Get comfortable on camera, get comfortable with the call, and learn to interact with people a little bit more remotely. I mean, right now we kind of have to do it because that's just the way we are with all of the travel restrictions. But going forward, who knows? This might become a much more commonplace mechanism for engaging with people that are a long ways away, as opposed to spending so much time on the road. If you like this video and it helped you in any ways, please give us a like, share the video with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you never miss any of my new videos. And until next time, don't travel until it's safe, and I'll see you soon. Oh, and one more thing to think of. Keep an eye on your username. I would suggest using your actual name. Don't try something clever or unique like Big Dong 420 or something like that. Keep it professional, keep it appropriate. Thanks so much for watching.